All right, good morning, everyone. I want to start off by thanking everyone who was able to make the presentation today. We hope it's helpful. We're going to be highlighting the ABE 101 here, specifically the SNAP application. So before we dive in, just a bit about us. I have Haley Reyes here alongside me. She is our Community Engagement and Benefit Access Specialist here at AgeOptions. And then I have myself here. I am the Information and Assistance and Benefits Specialist here at AgeOptions. So here at BEC, short for Benefit Enrollment Center, we do a couple of things. The main thing we do is providing application assistance for public benefits. So this is going to include, your Medicaid, your Medicare Savings Program, your license plate discounts, ride-free transit card, and of course, what we'll talk about today, our SNAP benefit. We also help people understand their benefits and provide any advocacy if needed. A very important one that we do here is conducting outreach. So normally we would go out to, senior fairs or libraries or YMCA's, and we do this to educate our seniors. A lot of these benefits are unfortunately underutilized, so we do want to make sure that they know that these are out there, readily available, share any kind of income limits or any other kind of requirements to them so they know what's out there for them. And then one last thing we do here is support other benefit counselors within our aging network. So just a little bit of housekeeping here. If everyone can just please make sure to stay on mute if you are not speaking. We want to make sure that this presentation does run as smoothly with minimal interruptions. Any content questions that do arise, we're going to have Kelsey Gordon, which is our advisory training and benefit specialist here. So you can drop any questions via chat down in the box, and she'll do her best to go ahead and answer those as they come up. Another thing, slides and toolkits were sent in the email this morning, and this recording, of course, will be shared afterwards as well. So the goal of this training is to provide a SNAP 101 for all beginning benefit counselors. Our goal was to offer a practical training from the perspective of us, benefit counselors. This is an introductory instruction on how to complete an ABE application, which is the website used for the SNAP, which we'll go into detail in the middle of the presentation. We also want to introduce specific language that are used by key stakeholders, provide a basic introduction to the Illinois DHS system, and then just so you know, this is part of a series of intro trainings that are available to new benefit counselors. You can also find the Intro to Medicaid and Intro to Medicare Savings Program as well. So just kind of going through our agenda here, we're going to start with our SNAP overview. And then we're going to follow it by the Illinois SNAP enrollment process, where we'll highlight each step in order. Then we'll go on to the ABE application, which is basically the meat of the website and how to navigate it. Then we'll go on to the IDHS interview portion. We'll follow that with redeterminations, and we'll explain what all that means as well. And then we'll close it out with some kind of troubleshooting and tips that we've encountered. All right, so with that in mind, we'll go ahead and begin here with our SNAP overview. I'm sorry. SNAP is basically a acronym for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and it's basically food stamps. So, it's a program for food, helps supplement grocery budgets for those with low income. SNAP is funded by two different sources, the first one being the federal government, and they are going to fund the full cost of benefits and then take half the cost of administering the program. That other half of administering the program is also going to be funded by the state government. We have a very helpful diagram here to the left, kind of showing the hierarchy of everything. We'll start bottom up. We have our caseworkers. So these are basically going to be the people who are receiving these applications and either approving or denying them. Right above them is the LOAs, known as the local office administrators, and these basically run these local offices. You can think them similarly to an office manager. Right above them, we have the FCRCs, short for Family, Community, and Resource Centers. These are actually a subsection of IDHS. You might also hear them being referred to as a local public aid office. And this is basically going to be the physical place that an application gets set and processed. And then right above them, we have IDHS themselves, which is a government body that administers the benefits and also processes applications. Right on top of them, we have the Health and Family Services. And this is the state government body making policy decisions. And then finally, here to the top, we have the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Food and Nutrition Services. And they basically regulate SNAP as a whole and authorize and monitor retailers. We do have a very helpful link here that we're going to share. You can also find this in your toolkit. It is an IDHS office locator. So the link here provided will show you all the offices. Sometimes, a senior might want to know, or, some other client that you may be working with, which office is closest to them, just to have for reference. So you can refer to the link, and it shows all the ones within Chicago as well as outside in suburban Cook County as well. All right, so a bit about SNAP, just some stats and facts here that we pulled. These are actually directly from the National Council on Aging. So the first one here, approximately 4.8 million older adults age 60 and over are currently enrolled in SNAP. And then about 3 out of 5 seniors who qualify are not enrolled. Again, this is why it's very important for us to go out and outreach and advocate and kind of, sponsor these sort of benefits that are not being used that are readily available for many of our seniors and those that are disabled. Now, the average SNAP benefit of an older adult is about $118 a month. And for every $1 in SNAP benefits, it generates $1.79 in the local economy. And then access to SNAP is associated with reduced healthcare costs, also a 23% less likely to enter a nursing home, and then a 4% less likely to be hospitalized. So some of you may be wondering, so what can you purchase with SNAP? So some common things here that you can, bread and grains. We also have fruits and vegetables, non-alcoholic beverages, meat, fish and poultry, any kind of dairy products. And then some may not know, but you can also buy seeds and edible plants. So if you like to garden or whatnot, you can definitely buy seeds and grow your own produce. Some things off the top of my head that you cannot purchase with SNAP. It's going to be any tobacco products, any alcoholic beverages. I know a lot of grocery stores and food markets have a hot bar in the back with food that's already prepared that you cannot buy with SNAP. Any kind of cleaning supplies, towels, papers, sprays. And then for those that do have pets, cat food and dog food is not able to be used for SNAP. Though this list here is not limited to it, some grocery stores, major ones that do accept SNAP is going to be Aldi's, Pete's, Target, Walmart, Costco, and Sam's Club. And then Amazon has now been able to take that online as well. Now, right under that, we are going to share a link with some restaurants that are participating with SNAP. Most of these are in the southwest side of Chicago, but we'll include the link there. And then a very popular option during this time of the year are farmers markets. So for every $2 that are spent, they do receive $1 back. And then we're including another helpful link here that has basically a list of all the participating farmers markets that will take SNAP. All right, so now we're going to move on to the SNAP enrollment process. So we begin here in chronological order, the first one being completing and application. Right after submission of the application, you will upload any necessary documents. These will vary from client to client. Someone that worked might have to, any pay stubs that they have. Someone that may have any unpaid medical expenses might have to put those bills up. So it really varies from person to person. Right after that is going to be the interview process that occurs, and we'll highlight all of this with more detail as the presentation goes on. Right after that, they will receive their decision via mail. And then right after that, a very important thing that's going to happen either a year or two after they receive the benefits, they will have to submit what they call a redetermination. And we'll also dive into that towards the end of the presentation. All right, so here we're going to start off with our first portion, eligibility. So SNAP is a means tested program. What this basically means is that applicants must be below a certain gross income limit to qualify. And just so you know, gross income is the income that is received before any kind of deductions. There are other factors that can affect this, such as household size, age, and disability status. And then all of these amounts are based off of the federal poverty line. And then just so you know, these are raised every year, the limit for that, just to kind of go in line with the cost of living for each year. And the federal poverty line increases every October typically. All right. So, SNAP household. So, basically, everyone who lives together and purchases and prepares the meals together will be grouped together and categorized as one SNAP household. You might also see it being referred to as a SNAP unit. These two are used synonymously, so they're the same. And basically, one link card and one SNAP case file is shared between that household or that one SNAP unit. Spouses and children that are under 22 years old must be included in the same household, and that's true even if they prepare their meals separately. A very helpful chart here that we're going to include, which is also located in your toolkits for reference, is the updated 2024 income limits for SNAP. Again, these are in your toolkit, so you can use them as reference as you go on and help those apply and see how their household varies and how the gross income changes for that. So by now you might be thinking what is counted as income when applying. So basically IDHS counts any money that's received in the last 30 days prior to that application. And this can be any money received from any source other than a loan. Here to the left of this chart, you see what they categorize as earned income. And this is basically going to be your salary, any hourly wages, their self-employment, any of those that received money from odd jobs, any kind of rental properties if they have any, and any money from on-the-job training. Now, they also have unearned income that they do count as well. This is basically going to have be your cash assistance, which is your AABD or your TANF. This is also going to include Social Security, survivors disability, and retirement funds. Any money that's received from family and friends that is not expected to be repaid, any kind of unemployment insurance, child support, and then those folks that do receive pensions as well. So here we have a very quick calculation of how to get that SNAP dollar. So basically, you're going to start with your gross monthly income. Um, and then what you're going to do is deduct the SNAP deductions. SNAP deductions relate to the applicant's living expenses. So the amount of that deduction depends on the type of expense and typically follows a formula. And then you're going to end up having what they call a SNAP net amount. And that's going to basically determine that monthly benefit that you'll receive from SNAP. All right, so here we have a screenshot of the SNAP eligibility calculator. Here you can see I have a made-up scenario. This is a very important tool that you can use. So sometimes seniors or those that are disabled want to know how much they may receive for SNAP prior to applying. A lot of them want to know if the application process is worth it or just, a general ballpark of how much they might get should they be approved. So I made up scenario here for you guys. So we'll start on top with household information. You can see the ask for the household size. In this case, I'm going to include a married couple, and they are both going to be over 60, so we hit yes for that. Then we go down to household income and assets. So they no longer work as they're retired, so they have no gross income. However, they do both receive Social Security, which totals to about 2,200 a month for both of them. They do not have any assets. Now going down here to household expenses, they do not have any dependent care costs. They also do not have any court ordered child support. This one's going to be very important. They do have an out-of-pocket medical expense. Uh, Basically, any senior that's receiving Medicare, Part B has that deduction, that premium that occurs. So they both have that, so that totals to 349. Again, a lot of clients are gonna that have this you're gonna run into, so you must include that. So again, in this scenario, they both total up to 349. And then they have a rent of about 950 a month as well. They don't have any homeowner insurance. And then down to the bottom, you will see that they ask about the utility expenses. In this case, they are billed for both AC and the heat. And then what you would do is you would go ahead and hit calculate now to the bottom. And what you'll see is this screen. This is basically your result screen. So given that situation that we just highlighted there with that older couple, they can potentially receive about 231 a month. Now, We do want to make clear that this is not what they're going to exactly get. Again, this is a rough estimate, so it can very well be that they make less of this or that they get less. But regardless, this is just again, if someone wants a ballpark or something like that, it is a tool that we do use here. So we're going to talk about what a qualifying member is here. There are many ways to be considered one. One is to be 60 and over, and the second is to have a disability. So whether they receive AABD cash or AABD medical benefits, they might also receive Social Security benefits or any kind of railroad retirement disability benefits. And then we do have our veterans as well. Disability at 100%, they are also qualified members. And basically with this comes special benefits. So what that happens is you get a higher gross income limit. You also get medical deductions for any kind of medical expenses that exceed $35. And then you also have unlimited deductions for excess shelter expenses. This is a complicated formula for that, so we have included that link down there that kind of shows it more in detail. All right, so elderly disabled status. So if a person is 60 and over and unable to purchase and prepare meals separately due to a permanent disability, that person, including their spouse, might also have a separate SNAP unit if they buy and share food with people that are also under that gross income limit. So we do have an example here in the bottom. So we have Mary, who's a 65-year-old woman under the SNAP gross income limit and lives with her daughter and two grandchildren. Mary does have a permanent disability that limits her mobility. Due to her disability, her daughter cooks for her and helps her grocery shop. Mary's daughter and her family also qualify for SNAP. Due to Mary's age and disability, she is eligible to apply as her own SNAP household and receive her own SNAP card benefits. All right. So acid tests for these qualifying members. So some qualifying members who are over that gross income limit may still be able to qualify for SNAP if they have high enough expenses. In this instance, they must have less than 4,250 in assets, and they must also with that submit a bank statement. There are rules that get a bit detailed surrounding that categorical eligibility. So we also have attached these links here, which are also in the toolkit as well. All right, now we're moving on to non-citizen eligibility. So these are our legal permanent residents, so 18 and older after having holding a green card for 5 years, or 17 and under, blind or disabled with no time restriction. These also include refugees and asylees, and then they also include certain survivors of domestic violence or any kind of human trafficking and their children. These are also known as VTTC benefits. For these kind of applicants, we do ask that you contact legal aid or consult a lawyer just to get more details regarding that status. Non-citizens who are ineligible, I'm sorry, may still apply on behalf of their children who meet citizenship or residency criteria. We do want to note there are multiple special situations that apply to non-citizens that impacts eligibility and they might be able to require or they might require additional documentation due to that status. So we have a chart here to refer with other kind of special situations that might occur. I won't go over all of them, but as you can see, one of the most common ones here is the mixed eligibility household. So basically not everyone in a household being eligible due to citizenship status. We have the policy here, which we do say they are still able to get SNAP. We refer them to the attached GCFD, which is the Greater Chicago Food Depository training for instructions regarding that. This will also be in the toolkit, so you can see all of the special situations that do occur here. And then here are just a couple more with parental control, foster children, someone who might not have a current permanent address, or any unaccompanied minors. All right. So moving on here to emergency SNAP. Some of you may have heard about it. So basically, emergency SNAP is just expedited SNAP benefits that become available in 5 days or less from the time that the application is submitted. A person may be able to qualify for emergency SNAP if one, their monthly income, cash, and bank accounts are less than the rent or mortgage plus the utility cost, or if your monthly income is less than 150 and your cash and bank accounts are not more than 100, or at least one person in the household being a migrant farm worker and their cash and bank accounts not being more than 100. Now, continuing with that emergency SNAP, there is a special rule that occurs with this. If there is a client that qualifies for emergency SNAP and might also happen to be in need of Medicaid or the MSP program, they are actually able to apply for all three programs simultaneously. So what would happen is all of these applications will get processed within that 5-day time period instead of waiting for that normal period, which is usually 45 to 60 days. And with that, I will turn it over to Haley, who will be introducing the ABE walkthrough.
Right. Oops. Sorry about that. Can you see that, Alex? Can you all see that?
Yeah, you're good, Haley.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so now we're moving on to the ABE walkthrough. So ABE is the website that you would apply for these benefits at. So that is abe.illinois.gov. ABE is short for the Application for Benefits Eligibility, and this is the state of Illinois website where you can submit these applications and also check the status of the cases for their public benefits. You can apply for multiple programs at the same time. So that is Medicaid, which is the low-income health insurance, SNAP, as we're talking about today, TANF or AABD cash, which is a cash benefit available to people who are low income, and the Medicare Savings Program, which is a few different benefit programs that help pay for the Medicare Part B premiums. So why do we recommend to use ABE? So on ABE, you can actually track and have record of all the applications you file. This bypasses the risk of faxed or mailed applications getting lost. There is no record of what's listed when you do an in-person application versus an electronic application. And the platform ABE is also a really secure way of uploading documents rather than mailing things and mailing sensitive information. So we recommend using ABE as much as possible and only utilizing paper applications as a last resort. Okay, so very important change coming to the ABE website. Tentatively set to launch on July 26th. They're going to be requiring two-factor authentication. So that means that when creating accounts for your clients, they will need to have an active email address that they have access to in order to sign in. So this, predicting some issues coming along with this, but as it launches and things roll out, we're going to try to find some ways to work around. All right, so when setting up a SNAP appointment with your clients, we recommend giving a list of information for them to bring to the appointment and have ready. So these are things like proof of identity, like a driver's license, state ID, the names and date of birth for everyone who's going to be on the application, social security numbers or alien registration numbers for non-citizens, having and knowing the gross monthly income for everyone on the application, having the value of everyone's cash, savings, checking, or any sort of other type of financial account, knowing the amount spent on rent or mortgage, other housing bills like renters or homeowners insurance, know which utilities they pay for like water, gas, electric, and also having the amount spent on monthly medical expenses for people who are qualifying members. And again, soon an email address as well. So when you log onto the website, you see this home screen. There's going to be 3 big buttons shown here. On the left is the check if I should apply. This will link you to a benefit screener that will help determine what benefits the household may qualify for. In the center is the apply for benefits button. This is the link to the application. And on the right is manage my case. So we're not going to get into too many details about manage my case, but know that it is a portal where you can view the status of any existing benefit case, apply for new programs if they have an active case, file redeterminations, and report any changes. We do have a PowerPoint in your toolkit that walks through how to create an account for management case and how to navigate the website. All right, so next, when you click apply for benefits, I'll take you here to create an account. If they have an existing case, you'll click login and enter their username and password. If not, you'll select create an account and click next. Now this is where you would type in the applicant's first and last name and create a user ID and password. So at AgeOptions, we like to use a formula. So that means we set something up to where we can use the client's information that they will remember and also will be in the client's file in order to create the username and password. So an example we have here is like for username, using their last name and the year born. For a password, their street name and phone number. And this is something that if you lose that information or the client loses that information, you'll be able to quickly recall this and log in. And if you do this, be sure not to give this information to the client. Don't let them know that you use a formula, but rather just give them their username and password. So when you create an account, you'll also need to create secret questions for the client. This is very, very important to not lose this because every 180 days, they're going to have to reset their password, and you will need to answer these questions every time. All right, once you finish creating the account, it'll take you back to the home screen. You will click Login on the top right corner. You'll ask if you are using a private or a public computer. You see that office computers are listed as public. However, that can also create issues if you select that because it will keep logging you out and you'll have to re-enter multiple times during the session, possibly. So we recommend pressing private computer. All right, so once you do that, it'll allow you to open a new application. So you'll have 4 options here: start a new application, keep working on a application that is currently in the process, check the status of a previously submitted application. So when you have a client that has no active cases, you select start a new application. All right, and then before you begin, they'll give you some more information like what if I need food right away. They'll tell you about emergency SNAP, what to do if you want to do a paper application. You can go ahead and click next. All right, and then they'll now ask who is filling out the application. Are you doing this for yourself or someone in the family? Select no. We'll ask who you are, if you're a friend, someone with power of attorney, or a staff person at a community agency. So when you select community agency, it'll also give you the option of entering an agency number if you are a registered community agency with DHS. You do not have to enter this if you are not. Okay, now you'll select the benefits you and your client are applying for. So in this walkthrough, we are only selecting SNAP or apply for food assistance. If you are applying for multiple benefits, just be aware that it will ask additional questions than we are going to review today. We do have a Medicaid training that walks through those questions as well. All right, so more about benefits. You'll go ahead and bypass this and click next. And now you'll be entering the general information for your client. So re-entering their first and last name, selecting their gender, date of birth, marital status, and county. You'll enter their street address, city, and state. If they have a different mailing address than the one they reside at, you can enter that here. This is more commonly used for people who receive mail at a PO box. I've also had a few experiences where I'm working with a child of an applicant and they reside at a different home, and they will want to receive that mail for their parents. You can enter their address here as well. Okay, now contact information. You put in a phone number for them. They can opt to receive text reminders of important dates. If they are deaf or hard of hearing, you can choose an alternative method for contact. You can select a different language for them to contact the client in. And you can also opt to have mail in English or Spanish. And you also have the option of entering that email address as well. Okay, now you select how many people are going to be in the home or on the application. When you hover over the blue question mark bubble, it'll tell you to include everyone, including yourself and those who live with you. As we discussed earlier, there's many special situations that may change this, so we recommend following those. Okay, now you're going to confirm that they are applying for SNAP. You'll select whether or not they plan to file taxes this year and enter their Social Security information. And now you select whether or not they are a U.S. citizen. So here on the left-hand screenshot, we selected no. We said that this is not a request for emergency medical. This person does not have a sponsor, but we selected yes, this is a person who is a documented non-citizen. If you select yes, it'll prompt you to enter what type of document, the document number, their alien registration number, date of entry, and when did the status begin. If you select no, as you can see in the right-hand screenshot, that they are not a documented non-citizen, it'll ask if they have applied for or intend to apply for asylum, a T visa, or a U visa, and to enter the date that the status began. It'll now ask if this person is or was in the military or is a spouse or child of someone in the military. If you select yes, it'll ask for detailed information. So you'll just select which one of these identities apply to the person. So if they are a veteran on active duty, is a spouse or a child, a veteran, and if they are 100% disabled. You can enter race and ethnicity information, but this is optional. All right, so now residence information. It'll ask if this is a person who resides in Illinois, if they come to Illinois with a job commitment or looking for work, if they are a migrant or seasonal farm worker. This is an important question because, as we saw earlier, this could qualify them for expedited SNAP benefits depending on their bank account information. And it'll now ask, where does this person live? So in the drop-down menu, we have a screenshot at the bottom of the screen. You can select in this home if they do live at the residence that you entered previously. If they don't and they live in any of these other circumstances, then they may not be able to keep these benefits if they apply for them, because in many institutional settings, the facility will take those benefits if a meal is provided to them. Also, sheltered care does not refer to someone staying in a homeless shelter. That is a different type of specific facility. Okay, it'll now ask if they are blind or disabled, and this was determined by Social Security, or if they have a disabling condition that has lasted at least 12 months, prevents them from working. It'll ask about whether they have applied or received services through the Department of Aging's Community Care Program. And for those who don't know, the Community Care Program is a caretaking service that is facilitated by IDOA. And they'll ask if they are receiving SNAP benefits from another state in this month. It's important to know that they can only receive SNAP benefits from the state that they are currently residing in. So if you stated that the client is disabled, it'll ask if Social Security has made an official decision, if they are blind or disabled, and when did that occur. It'll also ask at the bottom if they need help with activities of daily living. And these are things like meal preparation, bathing, dressing or grooming, and other personal care tasks. So this is a close-up of the drop-down menu. When you select if Social Security has made an official decision, your choices are appeal pending, yes, no, or waiting for decision. If the person has received their disability status from an institution other than Social Security, such as the VA, then you would write the estimated date of disability, make a note in the additional information comment section at the end of the application, and submit proof of this disability. Right, the next few questions is, has anyone been approved to receive services under the Developmental Disabilities Waiver? If anyone's working with rehabilitation services, if anyone in the household is in an alcohol or drug treatment program, and if anyone is a victim of domestic violence. So all these questions refer to the special situations that we discussed previously and that you can review in your toolkit. All right, so at the end of every section that we complete, it's going to give you a summary of the information you entered. Review this information and make sure everything is correct. If not, it'll give you the option to change those, and it'll take you back in the application and you can make those edits. Here you can also add another person to the household if you haven't. Okay, so now at this point of the application, it's going to prompt you to verify the applicant's identity. So if the person is in front of you with their ID, or if you have a copy of it on hand, you can say yes. It'll take you to this screen where you will enter the information on the ID exactly as it is written. So every initial number, everything has to be exactly as is stated on the ID. So you can enter their first and last name, date of birth, their eye color that's listed, the height, weight, and ID number. Important to note, some issue I run into before is that when entering things like height, putting a 0 in front of the first number or second number may be important because I've had it reject those previously before. So be sure, even if it's not on the ID, to enter that just in case. All right, so if you opt to not verify through using the ID, it will prompt you with background questions that are generated from the person's credit history. These can be very, very specific. So things like what street have they previously lived on, what phone number they have previously had. That's a tricky one. Another ones I see pretty often is what high school did you graduate from? Which of the following is a previous employer? So it's important to note for the background questions, if the person does not have a credit history, they will not be able to verify through this method. You will see this screen. So it'll give you the phone number to Experian, and they can go ahead and call that number and verify over the phone. Alternatively, there are also like paper forms you can mail to DHS, and some other methods. We have those listed in the HFS's Management My Case Guide that is in your toolkit. So now to the assets question section. So on this page, it'll list different liquid resources like cash, savings account, checking account, or other. This section is important to people who are qualified members and over their gross income limit, because as we reviewed, they will have an asset test they would need to meet. Also, if your household is wants to be screened for expedited SNAP benefits, this is also very important. All right, so when you hover over the blue question mark bubble by other liquid resources, it will give you a list of examples. So these are trusts, savings bonds, stocks, money market accounts are common. IRAs are also really common. So you select yes if your client has any of these. Right, so when you select yes to that question, it will take you to a checklist. So you will select each one that the person has. And then for every resource you selected yes to, you will be taken to this screen for each one. So for every account, you'll be prompted to enter what the balance of those accounts are. And now off to income. So the first income section is job income. So you'll select whether the person is currently employed or has been employed in the last 3 months, whether or not they are self-employed, and whether or not they have quit a job, reduced work hours to less than 30 hours per week, or refused to take a job in the last 60 days. So this refusal to work section is relevant to the work provisions that Illinois has for certain SNAP household members. Additional information on this is available in the citation guide in your toolkit. Okay, and if they are currently employed or recently employed, it'll ask what the name of the employer is, what their address is, phone number. It'll ask for the person's job title and when they started the job. It'll also ask if payment from this employment is expected to continue for the next 30 days. Ask for pay information, like what is the pay period, bi-weekly, monthly, etc. How much they get paid each time. If someone has variable income, then you'll enter what they have received in the past 30 days here. Okay, if they get paid hourly, when you select that, it'll ask for the rate of pay as well and how much they are paid hourly. It'll ask if they receive bonuses, commissions, or tips, if they are on strike from the job, if the job has ended or is going to end. If they are self-employed, it'll ask what type of self-employment they have, the start dates, how many hours a month are they self-employed, or an estimate of the number of hours, what the gross income amount is before expenses are deducted, and then how much are their monthly business expenses. And then, of course, it'll ask if they expected to work for the next 30 days or if the self-employment is run out of the home. So reporting self-employment can be tricky for some people because it requires quite a bit of documentation. So be sure to fill out as much information as you can. Self-employed individuals can deduct work expenses from their gross income. So you want to be sure that your client lists these expenses and lists them accurately. Clients can also submit self-employment ledgers to help document these expenses, but they do not need to submit receipts as proof. Okay, so other income. This section would be better referred to as unearned income. Each of these refer to income that is not created through work. So if they receive SSI, if they receive from Social Security retirement, survivor's benefits, or disability insurance, they group all three of those together here. So if they receive any one of these, just select yes. If they receive child support, if they rent a room or provide meals to someone, if they receive an adoption subsidy payment, or any other sort of income. Okay, to close up of that other income section, over the blue question mark bubble, it'll tell you a variety of other incomes you could claim here. So money from others, such as friends or family. You can also call these cash gifts. Alimony or spousal support, veterans benefits, other kinds of disability benefits. Pension or retirement is also common when working with older adults. Workers' comp, unemployment benefits, and more. Okay, so as we saw, cash gift is considered a type of income, so money that they receive from someone else. However, loans are exempt from income. So if someone gives them money with the expectation that they are going to pay it back, you will not have to count that as income. So in order to do this, you will need to submit a signed statement from both parties that details the amount of the loan, the payment of the loan, and state clearly that the payment is required. The repayment is required. So an example of what you could say in the statement is, I loaned Jenny $500 and I expect her to pay it back. So just be clear with the amount and the expectation. Okay, so for each unearned income you selected yes to, you'll see this screen. So you'll say when did they start receiving these payments, how often they get these payments, how much the payments are, and then if it's expected to continue for the next 30 days. Okay, so the living expenses section. So living expenses that you report impact how much the SNAP benefits are. So it's very important to screen these for each one with all your clients. So the term deductions that you'll hear sometimes refers to the living expenses that are deducted from their gross income. And these deductions are used to determine the SNAP net income amount. So the amount deducted is not based off the actual cost of the living expense. So an example is if they have $1,000 gross income and then they pay $600 in rent, their net income will not be $400. It's because DHS uses complex formulas and standardized rates to determine what these deductions are. So the SNAP net income will never reflect someone's actual net income. And as a general rule, the more types of deductions you can claim, the higher the benefit amount will be. So one type of deduction is housing and utility bills. So you'll select whether or not the client pays for housing costs. These are things like rent, mortgage, property taxes, renters or homeowners insurance. Also ask if they pay any utility bills. So these are things like gas, electricity, water, sewer, and telephone. And then next, it'll ask if they receive a payment of $21 or more from LIHEAP. So LIHEAP is a low-income energy assistance program through CETA. This will give them money off of their utility bills, their heat bill, and their electricity bill. So if they do receive that, you'll select yes. If not, no. If you select no, it will also ask if they are billed separately from their rent for heat or excess costs for heat and AC. Alrighty, and then housing bills, if you selected that they do pay these, you'll check off which ones apply. And then for each of those you check off, you'll be prompted to answer how much they pay for these bills and how often they make these payments. For utility bills, it'll do the same. If you selected yes, it'll give you a checklist to complete and click next. And this is something we really wanted to highlight, is that not all utilities will get you the same amount of deductions. So when you report that the client receives heat or AC, so that's for LIHEAP recipients, people with AC window units, people who are billed for excess heat or AC, when utilities are included in their rent, will all get the highest deduction possible. The next one is going to be 2 or more utilities. These are people who have 2 or more utilities that aren't heat or AC or phone. They'll receive a slightly smaller deduction. If someone only has 1 utility or phone, that's the next amount. And then even less than that is if they only pay for a phone. And then the lowest amount is if they only receive 1 utility. All right, so other expenses. So these are things like medical bills. If the person has an ongoing medical bill or unpaid medical bills in the previous months. If the person has a Medicare A or B, select yes or no. If they have job expenses, this only applies to people who are employed, blind, disabled, or age 65 and older and has job expenses. Also, if someone is employed and is a spouse or parent of a child under 18, they can also select whether or not they have job expenses. Then if they have any other sort of bill or expense that can be deducted from a federal tax return. So medical deductions for qualifying members. So as we learned earlier, that qualified members can report medical expenses of $35 or more and get a deduction if they had these medical expenses in the last 30 days. So these can be reoccurring medical expenses like the Part B premium. They can report those and get a deduction each month. So they will be divided out over the billing period. And it's important to submit these with the application. Okay, so if you selected that your client does have ongoing medical bills or unpaid medical bills, you can select what type of bills these are. So like inpatient treatment, medical, dental, or vision services, prescription, medical equipment or drugs, health insurance premiums, transportation, and more. If you selected that they do receive Medicare Part A or B, select which one. Select yes that they receive Medicare Part A, or yes or no they receive Part B. You can also enter their Medicare claim number or their railroad retirement claim number. All right, if your client falls into one of those previous categories and they receive job expenses, then you can select what these are. So if they buy or bring a lunch, if they have to buy uniforms or special tools, the cost of these. Also, you can report transportation for them. So if they own a car, take the bus or some other mode of transportation to work, and answer some details about that, as well as if they have any other job-related expenses like union dues, life insurance premiums, group health insurance premiums, or more. All right, so the final steps are submission. All right, so I'll take you through a final summary. So we'll review some of the answers you previously entered. You'll go through each of these and select it and double check that if it relates to no one or to a certain person in the household. It will also ask about the SNAP interview. So Alex will go more in depth into this later in the presentation. Really quickly, you'll enter whether or not they will opt to do an interview with DHS, either in the office, so the FCRC office, or if they prefer to do the interview over the phone. So you'll enter the best contact number for them. This is something that they should always have on them, so like a cell phone. And we need to be reminding them to answer all of their phone calls during this time. So if you opted to do an over-the-phone interview, you'll have to select the reason why. So does the client have hours of work that conflict with DHS office hours? If the client has problems with their health or transportation or their severe weather, and whether or not they do not have someone to help care for a child or disabled adult that would prevent them from going in person. Okay, and here's that additional information section. So you can enter an explanation of any sort of important component of the case or an unusual situation. We recommend being brief and professional here and to provide any supporting documentation as much as we can. Okay, if anything in the application gets flagged for that the applicant would qualify for emergency SNAP, it'll give you the opportunity to review some of those answers and double check that they're correct. All right, and before you submit the application, we'll give you another opportunity to review any of these sections. It will let you know if there's anything incomplete. Then off to sign your application. It's important to review the client rights and responsibilities with them, so you can have them read through that or explain it to them. It will give you the office information for the client, so it will pick whichever FCRC is closest to them. You do have the ability to change offices, so if they prefer a different one, then they can go ahead and select that. They will give you the address and phone number to the FCRC. Important to note that the phone number will route you straight to the IDHS hotline. It is not answered by someone in the local office. If you do need to contact the office directly, we recommend finding an LOA contact. All right, so then the fraud penalty affidavit, you'll go ahead and check that box. And then the electronic attestation, go ahead and check that box, and the client will enter their first and last name. If the client is not present, then you will need to become an authorized representative in order to sign and submit the application on their behalf. Okay, now they have this submission summary for you to review. They will give you a tracking number. Be sure to print that off or write it down for you and the client. You will need that if there's any sort of issue in the processing timeline, and you will have to contact DHS. You can print off the application for you or the client. And then when you click next, it will take you to the document upload screen where you can submit any documents. We will not be doing that in this presentation today, but it is in that PowerPoint in your toolkit. All right, and then really quickly after submission, you would want to provide the client with a copy of the application and confirmation page. Advise them on the timeline and next steps, including the interview. Alex will go into all of that in a minute. Submit all required documents to DHS. You can do this over ABE or fax, as again, we recommend using ABE for that. And you can create a Manage My Case account to track the application status if you would like. All right, and I'll hand it back over to Alex.
All right, thank you, Haley. I know we're throwing a lot of information at y'all. I promise we're in the final stretch here. Haley, can you see my screen?
I cannot.
Okay, here, one second. Okay. All right. So part three, the IDHS interview. So like Haley mentioned, there are two options. The first one being an in-person interview. So applicants do have that option to interview at their local DHS office. We don't want to note that this does depend on location. We're not sure which and which location doesn't do it. So it's always good to just contact them to see if that's a possibility. And basically, based on that provided address that was put on the application by the applicant, IDHS would send them to their nearest office based on that law location. Um, and again, so just to be clear, offices do vary. They are allowed to bring someone to their interview, but again, it's good practice to just call them beforehand, and just kind of check to see if that is a possibility for that client. All right, so moving on to the second option, which is probably our most commonly used one, is our phone interview. Again, this is a popular one for seniors and those with disabilities, just due to mobility, and just the convenience. The thing with the phone interview that we do want to know is that they do have to make sure that for the next 30 days, all calls are answered. Reason being, any time that they miss a call, they're not able to call back. One thing about DHS is they don't have a necessarily standard number, so it won't come up as DHS, or the public aid office or whatnot. So just important to note that. And then on top of that, we've had some callers say that they come up as scam likely on their caller ID or as unknown as well. So again, just to reiterate to your clients that they should be picking up all those calls in the next 30 days because it could very well be DHS. One thing too, over the phone, it doesn't always happen, but sometimes a caseworker might disclose that they've been approved during that same call. So usually they would hang up and you would wait in the mail to see the decision, but there are times where they do it over the phone and let you know right then and there. Which leads me to this next slide. So DHS must provide applicants with a notice that details that interview schedule date. One thing to note is this will get sent via mail and via mail only. There's no call for that, no email or anything like that. DHS is not required to contact applicants at the scheduled interview appointment. They may just really call anytime during that 30-day period. So again, just reiterating to make sure that they are picking up all those phone calls during that time. So a little bit about the interviews. So we do know that applicants have different interviews and those styles may differ, and of course the questions asked may differ. Just some of the things that we've heard that can be asked is what the client's full name is, along with their date of birth. They might also be asked what their social security number is. They might ask for them to re-verify their address, any kind of monthly income that they may be receiving, or they just might ask information regarding their utilities or what other bills they pay. We want to note that other details may also be discussed, such as, any necessary next steps that DHS needs or any kind of request of documents that might be needing as well. And because of that, we do have a checklist here of some things that the clients can have ready just to make that, phone interview a bit smoother. Their social security number, in case they don't have it memorized. Any kind of pay stubs, if they do have any kind of wages or things to report. Social security award letter, if available. And then any pension statements is available too, just so those kind of amounts coordinate with what was put on the application. And then for those clients with deductions, it would be good for them to have their rent and mortgage information there, any kind of utility information, a very important one, any kind of medical expenses, and then any dependent care cost if available as well. So for processing time, so IDHS does legally need to process a SNAP application within those set 30 days. Like we mentioned earlier, for the expedited emergency SNAP, they have 5 days to do that one. Should they fall behind on these deadlines, the caseworker or client should definitely follow up with that. In the toolkit, you will also see a very, very helpful follow-up chart that shows the different methods of following up. If all else fails, one of the last options to do is to set up an appeal for that, which is also included in that chart as well. So please make sure to refer to that toolkit. All right, so now you have the link card. So the next step will be activating it. So once approved, they will receive a link card like the one here on the right. They could go to the Illinois card website. We have the link right here included in this slide. And then they can also set that up over the phone through the Illinois Link helpline. Just a heads up though, they will ask for that 16-digit number that's located right in front of the SNAP card that they receive. Some of the things that you're able to do would be to change your address, check your link card account balance. In case it happens, you can report it lost or stolen. Should it be damaged in any kind of way, you can order a replacement link card. You can also select your PIN and then change that current PIN if you'd like. You can check recent purchases and withdrawals just like you would do with your bank statements. And then you can also report a problem with a purchase or withdrawal as well. So we're heading here to the final part, redeterminations and change reports. So what is a redetermination? So basically, SNAP recipients must renew or redetermine their benefits every 1 or 2 years. And this is pretty much just for them to know that they still qualify for these benefits. So applicants will receive a physical form in the mail when it's time for them to complete that said redetermination. They can also check that by logging into their Manage My Case. Some applications may be required to submit additional documentation regarding income. Again, they just want to make sure that their income has not changed or that they're within that eligibility threshold. Specifically for those elderly and or disabled, simplified redeterminations. So these are SNAP units whose adult members are all age 60 and over or disabled. For those folks, they will only have to redetermine every 2 years. So everyone else will redetermine every year, and then these will only be able to redetermine every 2 years. All right, so completing redeterminations and change reports. So SNAP recipients can complete their redetermination by returning a mailed form. They also can call the IDHS hotline, or they can also submit one through Manage My Case. We personally recommend submitting through Manage My Case just because it expedites the case a bit more. Both the online and physical redeterminations are already going to come pre-populated. So basically, all you're doing is just confirming that that information on there is still true. If that redetermination is very important, is not completed by that deadlines, the SNAP benefits in this case do terminate. So there are a couple of changes that occur that they must be reported to DHS within 10 days of that change. So if the client changes in a contact method, it must be reported. A change in household, any kind of household income change, expenses or bills that have changed, any kind of client resources, or any health insurance that has changed. Again, these changes can be reported in that Manage My Case account, which is a lot quicker and we do prefer. Or if they'd like as well, they also have the option of calling that IDHS hotline as well. All right, so finally here to end it, we have included some common troubleshooting tips that we'd like to include that we've personally came across. And the first one being is the message that says your session has ended because of an error. So unfortunately, Abe, isn't perfect. It does sometimes glitch and it does glitch mid-application. When this does happen, you may be permanently blocked from that application. We do have some steps here to follow in case you encounter that message. So the first thing you can do is try logging in on a different browser. We do personally avoid using Internet Explorer as we've seen it kind of gives us a bit more issues. The second step you can also do is restart your computer. And then if the problem does persist at the end of this, you would have to create a new ABE and a user ID and password account. So just basically creating another account to start over again if all else fails. This is not common off of my end too much, but I know it does happen. So in case it happens, these are the steps to take. One thing too, we try to avoid hitting the forward and back button. So this works just like when you're, purchasing something online and it's kind of processing. This is to avoid not messing up any of the information that's currently getting processed on the application. So instead of hitting those, we do recommend clicking that change or erase button to edit. You can see here we have that circled. So if you make the mistake, you carry on. And then once you have the time to review your answers on this page, you would simply hit change or erase if you'd like to modify or completely take away any error that you may have made on that client application. All right. So to follow up on the application, there are a couple of ways to do that. You can go through the Help Hub, Sugar Center. You can also go through the Greater Chicago Food Depository. Again, the IDHS hotline is also available for that. You can also contact the LOA, and then you can also contact directly the caseworker. This for me has been a bit difficult if you do try, but that is an option. And then if all else fails, you are also able to file an appeal. Again, refer to that toolkit. It does have all of these details regarding follow-up methods. And on that note, the toolkits are available there. If you do have any questions, even if it's after this meeting, feel free to shoot us an email. But the toolkits do have a good amount of lengthy information in it. And you will get a copy of this PowerPoint as well towards the end. But here are just some of the things that toolkit does include for you guys. And on that note, if you would like to sign up for our newsletter, you can email Haley. Her email is included here below. That there's no set date for that yet, but it will be up in the upcoming months. And then you can also sign up for any kind of advisory alerts or trainings. We do have a Medicaid spend down training that is coming up soon, July 31st from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. If this is something that you're interested in, you can enroll in advisory by AgeOptions Medicaid and Medicare related trainings. And then you can also sign up to receive alerts for a lot of these trainings by clicking on the link here and then clicking contact advisory at the bottom of the page. And with that, we'll close out. We want to thank everyone for being here. Hopefully this was helpful. Like I said, we are going to send out these slides. If you do have any questions, we'll stay here for a bit, or you can also submit them via chat as well.
Hi, I'm going to read a question that just popped up in the chat out loud. Anna, there's a lot. Sorry. Anna is wondering, could the individual lose their benefits if one of the program claims in the change was not reported? If one of the can you give me an example so I can make sure what you mean, Anna? If by one of the program, yeah.
So kind of piggyback off the other question that, you reported change, they both have, and they have medical and SNAP, but SNAP drops them because they didn't, I guess, report the change. Can we appeal that, and will they have the record of it being reported?
Yeah, there's always a record of a change report, and whenever you put it in, it gives you I always like to sort of screenshot or print off the change report just for my own records, and then I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I'm like 95% sure there's a tracking number.
Yes. But if they didn't do that with us,
and
how can we, is there a way to get it?
Is there a way to prove that they submitted a change report? It should be on their Manage My Case. And if that's the case, if you can find record of it, you should be able to appeal it. I don't have a ton of experience with appeals, but that makes perfect sense to me. The other thing to do, change reports are tough because there's not a lot of follow through with them, so that's why we've got a big old chart in your toolkit that walks through everything that we know about on how to communicate with IDHS, because it can be tricky. So the other thing you can do is if you file the change report and you haven't seen any action, go through the options on that list. And that's kind of what you got to do.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope that helps. If you have like a specific case that you're having issues, you can feel free to email us, and I can maybe see if I have any specific suggestions for you. It sounds like you might be having an issue with a specific case, so feel free to reach out to me and we could try and see if we can troubleshoot it.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. What else do we have here? Adriana, is there a place where we can obtain the paper applications? I understand that there should be less options, but yes. So you can. They're available online. I can see if I can find the link for you. There's the PDF. The catch is if they are mailing them, I have had a lot of experience with them getting lost. So I would recommend getting some sort of receipt, or maybe just dropping them off in person. That is better. And yeah, I am fully with everyone on the red tape that the email creates. That's why one option to consider is to just create an email with them that, you know, you create it with them, then you're able to create the ABE. You can give them all of the login information. For some people, this email may just exist so they can get that application in. I would, if you have the capacity to do that, I would consider doing that before a paper application, just because, again, in my personal experience, I have had a lot of issues where I've sent faxes in and they maybe get overlooked, or paper applications getting lost. Not to say that it happens every time, but it's just been a headache for me personally as a benefit counselor, which is why I like to do the ABE. If there's no other questions, I'll see if I can find that application for you, though, and I can put it in the chat. And if I can't find it really quick, we can email it to everybody.
Also, personally, I've had a lot more success if I mail applications using certified mail. I know that's not possible for everyone. And I do prefer to send through fax, although at some FCRCs, there's a little more of an issue of they just get a lot through fax. So you may have to submit it multiple times and kind of babysit your fax machine a little bit. But those are two options I've had more success with.
You guys, I am so proud of myself. I remembered the number of the form off the top of my head of the paper application. It is a 2470 ABE. Do not ask me how that stayed in my brain, but it did, and I have it for you. Okay. Any other questions?
All right, then I guess we'll go ahead and give you 20 minutes back. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope you found this useful. Feel free to reach out to me or Alex or Kelsey if you have any other questions after the training. And
I'm going to put my email in the chat because I don't think, just for especially, it was, I think, Anna or Adriana, somebody had a question. If you have like a case thing, we can try and talk about it. So, all right, thanks everybody.